Hello all. Last lectures we had a good discussion about different grounding techniques, why grounding is important, and what are the different types of grounding techniques that we use, right? So today we'll be talking about shielding in electromagnetic equipments. The objective of electric or magnetic shielding is to provide a significant reduction or to eliminate incident fields that can affect sensitive circuits, as well as to prevent components of the system from radiating outside the boundaries limited by the shield. So that means shielding is done in order to prevent external fields from affecting the machine or the measurement that we are going to make with the machine or device, and also to prevent the machine or device from radiating outside the shield. So the basic approach that we use to shield the equipment from outside world is to interpose between the field source and the circuit a barrier of conducting or magnetic material. Right, so between the circuit or measuring device and the outside field, we interpose or keep conducting material or a magnetic material which can prevent the fields from crossing the barrier, right? So shielding effectiveness can be defined as the reduction in the electric or magnetic interference that affects the measurement device or the outside world. Now the effectiveness of a shield depends on the shield material as well as the characteristics of the incident field, which is defined by distance between the source and the victim, right? So the effectiveness of a shield, whether a shield is effective in preventing electric or magnetic interference, depends on the material out of which the shield is made, as well as the characteristics of the incident field, whether the incident field is far field or whether the incident field is near field, whether it is electric, whether it is magnetic. All this affects the effectiveness of a shield. So it's found that techniques for shielding depend on the type of source, whether the source is magnetic field, electric field, or electromagnetic field source. Now the shielding effectiveness, usually denoted by S, is measured in decibel, can be basically calculated as the sum of three components, namely reflection loss, absorption loss, and a correction factor B, used in special cases to consider multiple reflections within the shield. Now the total shielding effectiveness is given by S is equal to A plus R plus B, where A is the absorption loss, R is the reflection loss, and B is the correction factor. Now if holes or joints are present in a shield, it can decrease the effectiveness of a shield. Now electromagnetic field shielding. Although any radiated wave is an electromagnetic wave, the term electromagnetic wave is generally used in the context of electromagnetic shielding to describe a far field plane wave where the ratio between electric field and the magnetic field is defined by the characteristic impedance of the free space, which is denoted by Z0 is equal to 377 ohms. When an electromagnetic wave passes through a medium, two phenomena known as absorption and reflection losses are present. In case of absorption losses, induced currents generate ohmic loss, heating the material and producing an exponential attenuation of the amplitude in the direction of the wave propagation. In case of reflection losses, when a field arrives at an interface between two media, part of the field can be reflected, introducing new losses. Basically, total loss will be a combination of absorption and reflection losses. So this correction term deals with multiple reflection cases, which is not considered for this type of waves, as reflection loss is high and correction term is small. Now assuming that electromagnetic wave propagates perpendicular to the shield surface, absorption and reflection losses in decibels can be calculated by the formula given below, where T is the thickness of the shield in meters, mu r is the relative permeability, sigma r is the relative conductivity, and F is the frequency. Based on these equations, it's possible to state that the reflection loss is the primary contributor to the shielding effectiveness at low frequencies, and at higher frequencies, absorption loss is the primary contributor to shielding effectiveness. Electric field shielding. The basic mechanisms of shielding observed for far field sources are valid for near field sources also, but the type of source is critical for determining the shielding methodology which is required to be applied in any case. For sources dominated by high voltages, the predominant near field is characterized by an electric field, whereas for sources with high currents, the dominant near field is a magnetic field. So basically, electric field shielding consists of conductive barriers, metal enclosures, metal conduits or cable coverings around circuits. The spatial electric shield acts as a capacitive voltage divider between the field source and the circuit. Now, for a field propagating perpendicular to the shield surface, the effectiveness of a shield against an electric field is defined by absorption and reflection losses, in which absorption term is unaffected by the source. The reflection loss factor depends on the source, and in the case of an electric field, it can be approximated by the equation given below, where R is the distance between the source and the shield. When the distance is undetermined, equation showed for the far field reflection could be used instead, as electric near field reflection losses are always lower than or equal to far field reflection losses. So based on these equations, conclusions for fields with dominant electric component are very similar to those attained for electromagnetic fields. The reflection loss is predominant at low frequencies, while absorption loss is predominant at higher frequencies. Magnetic field shielding. In the case of magnetic component of the near field is dominant and the wave propagates perpendicular to the shield surface, absorption losses are the same as those for far field defined earlier. However, the reflection losses are different and can be approximated by the equation given below. Based on this equation, reflection loss decreases for decreasing frequencies and is lower than the reflection loss for the plane wave reflection. So reflection losses are usually negligible for lower frequencies, and absorption losses are small for low frequencies too. This fact forces the use of different shielding techniques against low frequency magnetic fields. Basically, there are two different ways for shielding against low frequency magnetic fields. One is deviation of magnetic flux with high permeability material, and second one is the shorted tuned method, which consists in the generation of opposing fluxes that cancel the magnetic field in our area of interest. To deviate magnetic flux, it is recommended the use of magnetic material instead of conductor material for the shields, because it increases the absorption losses, hence improving the attenuation of the magnetic field, as it is the primary shielding mechanism at low frequency against magnetic fields. However, when a magnetic material is considered as material shield, two properties of this material, which introduce some limitations, have to be taken to account. First one is permeability of magnetic material decreases by increasing the frequency. Permeability of a magnetic material decreases when the magnetic field strength decreases. Okay, so this is all about shielding. There is another type of shielding or two, which is called cable shielding. You can refer to that by yourself. Thank you.